Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters of the media, let us call this press conference to order. I am, as you know, David Comichon, and I am wearing two hats this morning. I'm here in my capacity as president of the Clement Payne movement. I should say three hats. Chairman of the Caribbean Pan-African Network and coordinator of the Caribbean chapter of the International Network in Defense of Humanity. With me at the head table are Brother Umfra Wells, Chairman of the Pan-African Coalition of Organizations, and to my right, Brother David Denny, the General Secretary of the Caribbean Movement for Peace and Integration and the President of the Barbados-Cuba Friendship Association. And we have with us some very eminent patriots, Caribbean patriots and Pan-Africanists. Our brother Eddie Grant, who needs no introduction, Margaret Harris, our sister, Queen Mother, Myrna Belgrave, Philip Springer, and Edward Burr. So we are here this morning, and I want to make this clear. We are here this morning in order to present Caribbean people's response to the comments made by the President of the United States, Donald Trump, last week when he referred to the nations of Africa, of the entire African continent, the Republic of Haiti, and the Central American nation of El Salvador as shithole countries. We are here to present a Caribbean people's response to those statements. And I want to let you know at the very outset that we are not merely speaking on behalf of the Barbadian people. We are speaking on behalf of Caribbean people from French Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago, Dominica, St. Lucia, St. Martin, the US Virgin Islands, Haiti, Jamaica, St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua and Barbuda, Jamaica, Bermuda, Martinique, Guadeloupe, and Venezuela. And I don't say that idly, because we have been mandated by citizens of all 17 of those countries to speak on their behalf this morning. The Caribbean people have drafted a declaration that is directed at President Donald Trump of the United States of America. I'm going to read that declaration, and I wish through you, the Barbadian news media, I wish through you to ask all of those Barbadians who don't understand or claim they don't understand why conscious Black Barbadians are calling for the removal of the Nelson statue. Those Barbadians who don't understand or claim they don't understand why conscious Black Barbadians are asking that the Queen of England be removed from her position as head of state of our country and one of our own, be placed in that exalted office. We are asking those Barbadians who don't understand or pretend they don't understand when conscious Black Barbadians are offended by the government of Barbados granting outrageous privilege contracts to a coterie of traditional white businessmen and women, contracts that they would never dream of giving to Black business people. We want those Barbadians who don't understand or claim they don't understand why conscious Black Barbadians protest against the system of double standards in this country, where in relation to the granting of planning permission, one law applies to the majority people and another law applies to a wealthy and privileged minority. We want all of those people to listen very carefully to this declaration of the people of the Caribbean. And I'm going to read it. It is a declaration that was authored by the Pan-Africanists and Socialist popular forces of the Caribbean nation of Barbados at Bridgetown, Barbados on Saturday, the 13th of January 2018, and submitted to the people and civil society organizations of the Caribbean for their endorsement and adoption. And let me say here that hundreds of signatures have been coming in from all over the Caribbean just between Saturday and this morning. We are going to present a document that has attached to it the first 200 signatories. But I want to let you know that those are only the first 200. There are many, many more than those. This is the title of the declaration. It says, United States President Donald Trump has been declared persona non grata in the Caribbean. And the statement says as follows, and I quote, "We, the undersigned representatives of the sovereign people of the Caribbean, hereby declare that President Donald Trump of the United States of America is persona non grata in our Caribbean region. We further declare that as a persona non grata, President Donald Trump is not welcome in any territory of the Caribbean. And we hereby confirm that we, the Caribbean people, will petition our governments, vehemently protest against any Trump visit, and engage in popular demonstrations designed to prevent President Donald Trump's entry into any portion of the sovereign territory of our Caribbean region. As sons and daughters of the Caribbean, we hereby affirm that the continent of Africa is the revered motherland of a sizable majority of our people, and that the Republic of Haiti, the seminal architect of the destruction of the system of chattel slavery that held our ancestors in bondage, that Haiti is the foundational cornerstone of our Caribbean civilization. And we therefore consider that any insult or attack that is directed at the African continent or at the Republic of Haiti is intrinsically an insult and attack that is directed at us as well. We further affirm that we Caribbean people, in light of our history of experiencing, resisting, and surviving the most horrendous forms of enslavement and colonialism, that we Caribbean people consciously regard ourselves as champions and defenders of the dignity and fundamental human rights of all Black or African people, and that we are guided by an overarching and non-negotiable principle of zero tolerance of any manifestation of anti-Black or anti-African racism or discrimination. It is against this background that we, the people of the Caribbean, have determined that by describing the nations of Africa, the Republic of Haiti, and the Central American nation of El Salvador as quote-unquote shithole countries, US President Donald Trump has committed a despicable and unpardonable act of anti-Black, anti-African, anti-brown racism that has served to further energize and fortify the vile white supremacy system that the said President Trump has self-consciously sought to champion and lead. We, the sovereign people of the Caribbean, hereby declare to the entire world that we vehemently and unreservedly denounce President Donald Trump and the evil and inhuman white supremacy value system that he represents. That is the text of our statement. And that statement, as I said, has been endorsed and supported by hundreds of individuals and organizations from 17 Caribbean nations that I outlined, and also extra-regionally by individuals and organizations from as far afield as Canada, the United Kingdom, Namibia, and Benin. It has also been endorsed by several pan-Caribbean organizations, such as the Caribbean Pan-African Network, and several global Pan-African organizations, such as the Global African Congress, just to give one example. We have copies of the declaration for members of the media who are beginning to distribute to the news media as of this press conference. The declaration was placed on several social media platforms last night, but this will be the first delivery of the declaration to the news media. And I should also say that the declaration has been done in 4 Caribbean languages. It has been done, of course, in English, in Creole, Haitian Creole, in Spanish, and in French. And we are currently working on having it done in Dutch and Papiamento. So at this stage, just hand it to members of the sure everybody has it. Everybody's covered? And we are very pleased that we didn't plan this, but we are very pleased that the fates have so worked it out that this press conference is actually being held on the birthday of Martin Luther King, that great African American champion of black dignity and freedom. So what we would like to do, having given you the text of the declaration, I know both of my brothers are going to address, but what we want to do is to allow you, members of the media, to ask any questions you wish to ask, having heard the text of the declaration. This declaration is going to be published all across the Caribbean, in the media, all across the Caribbean. It is going to be published in the United States of America as well, and indeed across the entire world. And what we are doing in this declaration is sending a message that we Caribbean people, we have a philosophy, we have a set of principles that guide us, that guide our thinking, that guide our feeling, our emotions, and that spur us on to action. That's the message we are sending as a sovereign people. We are not asking the governments to do it for us. We, people of the Caribbean, recognizing that ultimately sovereignty resides in the people, we are taking this initiative as a people's initiative.
How are you expecting any signature and further follow-up to this declaration?
Signatures continue to roll in. In preparing this document, I had to cut off at 200 as a kind of symbolic number to get the documents ready. But as we speak, signatories keep rolling in via the internet. So yes, we will continually update the statement. So treat this first 200 as a representative body of the Caribbean
In terms of the question you asked follow up. The Reparation Committee of Barbados has just submitted their findings to the government. And as part of reparations, this call will be added to our claim for reparations, because Haiti had to pay 90 million francs to the French government for its able to trade and to do business as reparations to France. United States occupied Haiti for 20 or so odd years, plundering and raping. So when the reparation movement evolves its platform to present, that too will fall under our submissions.
It sounds as though you're saying, in terms of the reparations movement, that the U.S. might have a role to play in that. I know before we were looking at the UK, Europe, and so on as a source for the reparations. But given what is coming out here and what you've said, it seems that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that the U.S. might have, given what is done to Haiti, some
The United States was one of the powers that rewrote the Constitution of Haiti, apart from plundering it for 20 or so odd years. So that kind of devastation has to be repaired, that damage. Because if you can call a country quote-unquote shithole countries, how did those countries arrive at that status? By your plundering and by your deliberate and systematic underdeveloping the countries. And secondly, I'd just like to strengthen what David has said. If we look to London in particular, Trump has not insulted any people from England, and yet the citizens of England are calling for Trump not to visit. They are insisting that he be designated with the same status, persona non grata. And they have not been insulted. We have been insulted. Therefore, we have the same or even more right to demand that he be persona non grata within the Caribbean.
We heard over the weekend that CARICOM issued a statement condemning the actions of President Trump. It's the same comments. Their language was not as forceful, let's say, but was any consideration for or anything given to the probably combining or working together on a similar statement, combining it to have more of a united fresh on the record?
Statements have been issued. CARICOM issued a statement. The University of the West Indies issued a statement. We recognize the constraints under which institutions like CARICOM and the University of the West Indies operate. The mere issuing of a statement is not enough in a situation such as this. Mr. Trump's egregious insult and attack, because it's not just an insult, it is also an attack, a white supremacist attack, requires an action response. The mere use of words is not enough. The mere recounting of the history of Haiti and the debt that the United States of America owes to Haiti is not enough. Academic dissertations are not enough. this situation requires an active response. And so we have not waited on CARICOM. We have not asked anybody's permission. We understand, as I said, that sovereignty resides in the people. And therefore, we, the people, have decided to take action. And we are saying very clearly, we have outlined exactly what we have pledged ourselves to do. There's a role for our governments. We said, well, one of the things we will do, we will petition our governments. But we are very clear, we will not content ourselves with petitioning our governments. We go on to say we will also vehemently protest against any Trump visit. But we don't stop there. We further go on to say that we have committed ourselves to engage in popular demonstrations designed to prevent President Donald Trump's entry into any portion of the territory of our Caribbean region. So we are stating, we are making a pledge. We are saying whatever statements our governments may wish to make, whatever statements CARICOM may wish to make, whatever statements the University of the West Indies may wish to make, we, the people, are going beyond that. We are committing ourselves to action. And we are very clear about the action that we propose to take. And unlike the CARICOM statement, we outline a philosophical foundation for the actions that we propose to take. We make it clear that we, the conscious people of the Caribbean, are aware of our history, that we have had a most unique history. Our ancestors were faced with the most horrendous forms of oppression and crimes against humanity. They had to resist them. They had to try to transcend them. And so we are conscious that that history has bequeathed to us a mission. And that mission is to be the champions and defenders of the principles of black dignity and liberty. And if we don't take hold of those principles and root ourselves in those principles, it means that we would be disrespecting our ancestors. We would be dishonoring the travails that they went through. We would be dishonoring the struggles and the sacrifices that they experienced. So we are sending a signal to the entire Caribbean that as a people, we must be philosophically grounded. We must stand for something. We must be rooted in something, in a history, in fundamental principles. And that philosophy must then become a foundation not just for talk, but it must become a foundation for doing, for action. And so that is the very serious message that we are sending. That principles, supposed principles, are meaningless if they don't lead on to action. And that is what our Caribbean region desperately needs now. We need a common understanding among our people and our nations, that we must be rooted in some philosophy that comes out of our history. And it must be a genuine rootedness. It must not only be about talk, it must be the foundation for concrete and positive and serious action. And I don't think that any other region of the world has responded like we have responded. UNFRA speaks about English people, but that is really the mayor of London. The mayor of London has taken such a position. But as a people, we are prepared to say the buck stops with us. We are not looking for somebody else to do it for us. We understand Africa is our motherland. That the Haitian people are our Caribbean brothers and sisters, and they are actually the best of our Caribbean brothers and sisters. We want to send that message to Donald Trump. This is no shithole country. This is a country of heroes. This is a country of giants. The Haitian people represent the best of the Caribbean people because it was them. It was the great Macandal, Boukman, Toussaint Louverture, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, Henri Christophe, Alexander Pétion, and we can go on and on naming the roll call of heroes, of giants who defeated Napoleon, who defeated the armies of Britain, the armies of Spain. The first and only example in the entire recorded history of mankind of a people who managed to rise up and permanently overthrow a system of slavery. And we owe them an eternal debt because it was that successful Haitian revolution that inspired the African American revolutionary Gabriel Prosser in Virginia to take up arms against the American slavery system, that inspired Denmark Vesey in South Carolina to take up arms, that inspired our own Bussa and Nanny Gregg and the other revolutionaries here, the example of that successful Haitian revolution. It was Alexander Pétion, the president of Haiti, when Simon Bolivar was down and out, virtually defeated, finding it difficult to see how he could carry on the independence struggles of Latin America. Where did he go? He went to Haiti. And what did the Haitians do? Alexander Pétion gave him money and arms and ships and soldiers and said, go on, liberate Latin America. And he said, and Bolivar said to Pétion, what should we give you in return? What honor can we bestow upon you? And Pétion said to him, I want no personal honor. Just give me this promise that every country of the Spanish Empire that you liberate, you will abolish slavery. That's the only reward we Asian people want. This is no shithole country. This is a country of giants, of heroes. This is the best of the best. Whatever travails they may have gone through over the last 200 years, we understand. And we understand why they were put through those travails, why they were constantly picked upon, why their economy was consciously sabotaged by great powers. We understand all of that. But we understand that they are the best of us. the cornerstone. That Haitian revolution is the cornerstone of our Caribbean civilization. And so, if you touch Haiti, Mr. Trump, you touch all of us. That's the message we are sending. We are not an ignorant people. We understand our history. You touch Haiti, you touch all of us. You touch the African continent, we are not fools. We understand that that is our motherland. You touch all of us. And that's the message we are sending to our people. We have to be a serious people. We have to be a rooted people of substance. And you insult us, you attack us, we are not just going to make statements. Making statements are not. People like Donald Trump don't understand the mere making of statements. Donald Trump will laugh at the mere making of a statement. We have to respond with action. People action. Because at the end of the day, the people are suffering. The people are suffering. The people simply lend some of their sovereignty to political administrations for temporary and limited purposes. But the sovereignty of the nation resides in the people. Any further questions? We think this, brothers and sisters from the media, let me be very frank. We believe that this is a very, very important initiative that we have undertaken. Because for far too long now, our nations, our governments have simply been drifting in a kind of neo-colonial miasma, a kind of neo-colonial fog. This is a wake-up call. This, because Donald Trump is not simply a man. First of all, he is the president of the most powerful nation on earth. Secondly, this is not an isolated statement. Donald Trump has self-consciously sought to re-energize and to champion the white supremacy system. So, when a man of that power, holding such a powerful office, who has self-consciously positioned himself to be a champion of a white supremacist value system and all the powerful instruments that that value system can deploy, this has to be seen as a wake-up call.
Yes.
And it has to be, and we are sending this message that we have to gird ourselves with consciousness, with principles, but deeply rooted conscious principles that can serve as a foundation for action, not mere talk. That's the level that we are at. And so our media, one of the greatest estates of the nation, the greatest institutions of the nation, to help us to get this message all across the Caribbean and all across the world. That you're dealing with an awakened Caribbean people.
I have two questions. As a former journalist myself, could you explain to us the nature of white supremacy and how it coincides with the neoliberal order, particularly as related to international trade and racism? As a first question.
the world in which we live in was fashion, was produced by the system of enslavement and colonialism. The modern world that Europe and white Western countries dominate. And we Barbadians, of all people, should be conscious of this. Because that slavery system, that system that produced the first European, the billionaire class, that slavery system that generated super profits that were used to finance the British Industrial Revolution. That slavery system started right here in Barbados. Barbados was the first slave society, in the sense that it was the first society that was constructed totally on the basis of slavery. And that early British capitalist class carried out that experiment in Barbados, how to perfect a system of slave labor that would generate super profits based on the super exploitation of African people. So they designed a system that chewed up and spat out African human beings, where they calculated how many years of labor they would extract from an enslaved African, what margin of profit that labor would generate. And they were extremely successful right here in Barbados. And having been so successful in Barbados, they came to the conclusion that Barbados was too small a territory. They needed now to expand it to a larger territorial space. They then took it to Jamaica. And then they decided that Jamaica was too small as well. It needed to be taken to a still larger territorial space. And it was taken to South Carolina, and eventually right across the then 13 British colonies of North America. So that whole system, at the foundation of the system of European industry, the system of the European financial system, the banking system, the system of the movement of international money and finance, the system that determines the terms of trade, how much is paid on international markets for sugar, or for Ghanaian cocoa, or for Brazilian coffee, versus what is paid for manufactured goods from Western Europe. The system that says that all international petroleum transactions will be conducted in the United States of American dollars. That system was constructed by the same people who developed that first black slave society right here in Barbados, and then used it as a model for a capitalist system of the super exploitation of labor designed to generate super profits. So we have still not extricated ourselves from that system. Eric Williams described it in great detail in his book, Capitalism and Slavery. Dr. Walter Rodney described it in great detail in his book, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. Professor Sir Hilary Beckles describes it in great detail in his book, The First Black Slave Society, Britain's Barbarity Time in Barbados. And so we are conscious that it exists. We gained our independence, yes. We have made certain developments as formerly enslaved territories. But that system, that white supremacist, that powerful system of white capital and finance and political control still exists. And after 8 years in the United States of a black figurehead president, the Donald Trumps of this world, and the social forces that he represents, determined that even though the Obama presidency was a mere figurehead, was a mere black figurehead, but even that they found so offensive that they have determined that there must be a new upsurge, a new reinforcement of that white supremacy agenda. And this is why he consciously supports the alternative right movement and so forth. But I don't want us to get that can be a whole treatise in itself. So I don't want us to deviate too far from the business of today, which is really to put out this declaration of the people of the Caribbean. And I just want to draw your attention to the fact, to some of the signatories. Of course, you have the usual Barbadian organizations, the Clement Plain Movement, the Pan-African Coalition of Organizations, the Caribbean Movement for Peace and Integration, the Israel Laval Foundation. But we have other very important organizations, and I want to draw some of them to your attention. For example, number 9, the International Committee of Black Peoples of Guadeloupe, very, very important Guadeloupean organization that represents the black movement in Guadeloupe. The Emancipation Support Committee of Trinidad and Tobago, very, very important Pan-Africanist organization in Trinidad and Tobago, responsible for the massive annual Emancipation Festival. I would like to single out our newly installed Barbadian Cultural Ambassador at number 23, Anthony Gabby Carter. I would like to single out at number 32, Hamilton Lashley, our former Barbados Minister of Government, and also Brother Trevor Prescott, our Member of Parliament. The Jamaica Peace Council, we can go on and on. Brother Mohammed Nasser, outstanding Barbadians like Sister Isil Phillips. From Haiti itself, we had many Haitians wanting to identify. At number 131, Abel Nazir, the former Minister of Youth and Sports of Haiti. And as you go through the list, you will see many distinguished Caribbean persons and important Caribbean organizations. David Abdullah, yes, of the veteran Trinidadian trade unionists, and currently the leader of the movement for social justice of Trinidad and Tobago, Garcin Malsa of Martinique, former mayor of St. Anne's in Martinique. Several outstanding Caribbean persons, and as I said, this is just a representative example as multiple signatories come forward to subscribe their names. So they cool?
That's my next question.
We don't want to act like diversity. We don't want to get too far from the main topic today. All right. So the Barbadian media, in a sense, are privileged in that the press conference is held here in Barbados, so we give you the declaration first, but what we're going to do now, we are going to send it out to media houses all across the region, in all of the language groups of the region. Yeah. So thank you very much. Really appreciate the fact that all of the media houses turned up this morning. Yeah.
You want something to say?
Well, yes, just basically that this is a significant day in the sense that Martin Luther King fought for the rights of Black and people of color in the United States, and defended by the statement that all color do not descend, come from shitty countries, and that we should all be terribly offended by this, and we should rise up and take action to ensure that our self-respect and our dignity is continued to be kept in a high place.
Okay, brothers and sisters, thank you very much. We much appreciate your presence here.